Okay, let's do something else with the mask. This flower is kind of neat. There's a couple of things it could use, though, to look a little bit better. I think the background is too much in focus, and the flower could probably be a little more saturated. So we're going to do that with the masks. I'm going to make a duplicate of my background. Whoops. In this case, I'm going to make a blurry background, okay? So I'm going to make one of these layers completely blurry. Let's go to the one that's underneath. And the place where you do that is Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. You can experiment with the rest of them. Gaussian Blur is the one that works really the best. Okay, made a mistake here for a second. In order to see it, I need to turn off the top layer so I can see what I'm doing to the background layer when I blur it. So Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. All right. Here's where I can control with this. And the fact that preview is on is I can see exactly what's happening. So I'm going to blur. I'm going to blur it that much. Yeah, let's blur it. Let's blur it that much. And okay that. Okay. So I got two layers here. I got one layer of the original picture, and I got a layer with blur. I'm going to put a layer mask on here, but I'm going to show you something a little bit different. Before I actually put the layer mask on, I'm first going to make my selection. So this is a really good candidate for the quick select tool. Let's click the quick select tool, select our flower. Perfect candidate for a quick select tool. Oops, don't forget the center. Okay. So the selection is already made. Remember with the sky, just last video, I put on the layer mask, then I selected, and then I dumped black into it. Well, for this one, I am going to make the selection first and then put on a layer mask and watch what happens. It automatically assumed that what I had selected is what I want to be able to see on the layer that I have the mask. So it kept that. Okay, so now that I've got the flower sort of standing out on a blurry background, it looks like it still could use a little bit more emphasis. So I'm going to try something else here. And I'm going to check to see what I've got available to me. What I want to do is make an adjustment. And look at this second icon here. It is create new fill or adjustment layer. So let's click and see what we've got. Levels. That's a light and dark kind of thing. Brightness and contrast, hue, gradient map. We'll look at some of these another time. But I'm thinking that brightness and contrast might be something that I want to use. So I'm going to click on that. And look what happens. It makes a new layer, and it automatically adds a mask to the layer. And the mask is all white. Well, we need to have just the flower selected because we do want to keep the background like it is, and whatever we do to the flower, we only want to affect the flower and not the whole background. So we need this again. Well, I could go back and select the flower again. In this case, it wouldn't be too hard because we use the quick selection tool and it worked really good. But lots of times, other times, let me get this out of the way. Some other time, it might have taken a really long time to make your selection. But the selection is already made. It's already here. There is a way to reselect or recreate that selection easily. I'm going to hold down the Control key and I'm going to click in the thumbnail of the selection that I want to recapture. So Control, single click, and look, it automatically selected the flower again. Trouble is, I don't want the flower selected. I really want the background selected. See, because I want to dump black in here. So I want to dump black around the background. So I've got the flower selected already. So I have the edge that I need, but I really need everything but that. That's where we use, if we go up here to select and inverse, watch what happens. So now you see the marching ants all the way around the outside of the image. So all of this is selected, but the marching ants around the flower tell you that there's a hole in the selection. So that is not selected and the background is. It's exactly what I want. So with this thumbnail selected over here, with black as my foreground color, with my paint bucket selected, I'm going to dump black in, and there I've got it back again. Control D will get rid of the marching ants. So now let's go back to those adjustments, and they were up here. I just shut them down because I wanted to be able to see what was underneath here. But I can always get that back by just double-clicking on that little thumbnail. And here they are back again. So let's look at the different things I can do here. Well, just brightness and contrast. Let's try to be a little subtle here. Brightening works pretty nicely, but it could use a little bit of contrast. That looks pretty good. So let's accept that. And now you see that, here you can see what you did by turning that layer on and off. And notice that layer is only affecting the flower. And you didn't affect anything permanently. You can close down for the night, get up the next morning and say, whoa, I did a little bit too much there. Click here again and just readjust. Maybe I want to tone that down a little bit. I think that's even better. Okay, so there's my picture.